The intervention plan will focus on teaching Josh how to use correct techniques when using his wheelchair. Barclay, McDonald, Lenton and Burke-Taylor 2016 states that positive associations have been found between wheelchair skills and independent mobility, functioning and social participation in wheelchair users. This is specific to Josh because without proper training, there is an increased risk of injury to him, higher likelihood of mobility dependence, reduced social participation, and decreased quality of life, as reported in Hosseini et al. 2012. Moreover, higher level wheelchair skills can help to reduce the number of tips and falls in manual wheelchair use, which is the leading cause of injury and death associated with its use. The goal of this intervention plan is that in 6 weeks' time, Josh will have the wheelchair skills to be able to independently complete his activities of daily living in the home, the local cycling track, and the workplace. The first session will be 1 hour long and will focus on providing education about pressure care and wheelchair maintenance to Josh, his parents, and his girlfriend. Because many people with spinal cord injuries are at a lifelong risk of pressure ulcers, it is imperative that they develop effective strategies for self-management of skincare, as complications are the leading cause of failure to achieve educational, vocational, and social goals, as reported in Barclay et al. 2016 and Lala et al. 2014. Part of this self-management is ensuring that Josh repositions himself regularly in his wheelchair and that the wheelchair components are kept in good condition, particularly the memory foam pressure cushion. Josh and the family will be given a demonstration on how to correctly clean and check for any damage to the pressure cushion, which will be reviewed every 6 to 12 months. They will also receive written instructions for how this maintenance occurs to read in their own time. For the next 4 sessions, Josh will attend 4 1.5-hour sessions where he will receive training and education on wheelchair skills. Throughout the week, Josh will attend group wheelchair training sessions so that he can practice these skills further. These sessions will focus on transfers, propulsion, wheelies and curbs, as these skills were identified as the most important for independent wheelchair use by Kirby et al. 2016. Best, Ruthia and Miller 2015 suggests that new wheelchair users require at least 6 hours of training with these wheelchair skills before they are able to proficiently perform these skills in the community. Riccio et al. 2015 states that providing training and education about correct propulsion techniques is crucial to avoid joint degeneration in the fingers, wrists, elbows and shoulders in manual wheelchair users. Best, Miller and Ruthia 2015 states that current clinical guidelines recommend a propulsion technique of long, smooth strokes that maximize the push arc by reaching back to contact the push rim more posteriorly instead of using a more anterior hand position at the push rim release during the push phase of wheelchair propulsion. This will help to minimize the rate of loading and impacts, which puts pressure on the shoulder joints. When Josh is comfortable with this technique, he will then practice it on other surfaces that may increase resistance during propulsion, such as carpet or gravel. Josh will receive feedback on his technique to ensure that he is maintaining the correct technique during propulsion. Teaching Josh how to safely perform a wheelie will be crucial for him to safely ascend and descend from curbs and to safely go down ramps. It will also be important for Josh to have these skills to access his work environment, which has stairs and curbs, and to visit the local cycling track, which has curbs and steep ramps that he will need to descend and ascend to access this environment. When Josh first learns how to do wheelies, he will have a spotter behind him and the anti-tip mechanism on his wheelchair. As he develops this skill and becomes more confident, the anti-tip mechanism will be removed from his chair. Because Josh will be using a manual wheelchair, it will be important to assess that he is able to perform his wheelchair skills in his home, work environment and local social areas, and not just the hospital environment where he has learnt them initially. This is because contextual factors such as road steepness or curb height can change the demands of the skills Josh needs to perform. These visits to Josh's home, social and work environments will also help to increase Josh's confidence when he is discharged from hospital, as he will have already practiced these skills in these environments and will be aware of any dangers to look out for when he is by himself, such as debris or large cracks in the pavement and potholes in the road. These visits will also help to identify if any modifications still need to occur in these environments before Josh is discharged home. This would include moving furniture to increase circulation space in the home, or if a desk needs to be ordered for Josh's workplace so that he can work comfortably at the correct height for his new seating needs. For outcome measurement, the spinal cord independence measure would assess Josh's observable functional abilities. We would expect to see an increase in scores for tasks where Josh used to require assistance, because he will now have the skills to perform transfers from his wheelchair independently and mobilise in different environments. Although Josh will not gain full physical independence without the use of assistive technology, we would expect to see him independent or close to being independent with the use of his wheelchair. As it is a longer assessment, the spinal cord independence measure will be administered at the beginning, middle and end of the intervention process. The Canadian Occupational Performance Measure will measure Josh's perceived level of performance and satisfaction with his activities. We would expect to see an increase in Josh's satisfaction with his participation in activities, particularly his self-care and social activities. This is because after the intervention process, Josh will have the wheelchair skills to perform his self-care tasks independently and the wheelie and curb skills to access cycling events to socialise with his friends. Although Josh will not be able to attain a full score on the spinal cord independence measure, it is achievable with the Canadian Occupational Performance Measure, as it is about Josh's satisfaction with his performance of his ADLs. The Canadian Occupational Performance Measure will be administered every 2 weeks throughout the intervention process. During each session, a pain Likert scale will be used with Josh to ensure that he is comfortable and not experiencing pain throughout the session's activities.